Today, we live in an exciting data revolution where technology is rapidly changing the way we work and live. At OVH Cloud, we are at the forefront of this digital shift as a leading global cloud provider and the #1 cloud solution in Europe, serving customers worldwide. We are independent and vertically integrated with our data centers across our own fiber optic network, bringing businesses everywhere a secure and efficient alternative to the other cloud hyperscalers with complete respect for data protection. And just how are we different from the tech giants? Here are 4 key advantages. Our history is grounded in developing innovative efficiencies with a clear vision for a more sustainable future. We own the full value chain, and we manage the product lifecycle. With our vibrant ecosystem of partners, customers, and our common goals, we offer a complete portfolio of cloud solutions in total compliance to industry and open source standards. And as an ecosystem, we are driven by purpose, united by common product values. Together, we are change makers, building the future of technology for all. And now, let's get started.
We're on set, socially distanced, so we can take off our masks. Welcome everyone, wherever you are following us live on Wired for this OVH Cloud ecosystem experience. I'm Jeremy White, Executive Editor at Wired, and I'm glad to be your host today and tomorrow for this deep dive into the OVH Cloud ecosystem. I'm here today with Michel Paulin, CEO of OVH Cloud. We'll be joined by many other guests, both here on set and from all around the world, to discover how they are changing the data game together. Hello, Michel.
Hello, Jeremy.
So, let's start. We hear often the term that data is the new black gold. Perhaps it's even a little overused. But right now, to store and compute data, one of the most essential needs for companies today is to access the cloud itself. So give us some context. Where does OVH Cloud position itself in the worldwide cloud market?
OVH Cloud is a global pure player in the cloud industry. We have the chance to have 1.6 million customers in our 30 data centers. And we propose a complete portfolio of solutions based on the cloud. We qualify as smart, simple to use, multi-local, which means products are developed globally but deployed locally. Accessible thanks to our competitive and predictable pricing model. Reversible, because the cloud should never become a sort of jail. And transparent. Customers deserve to know where and how their data are stored and compute. The cloud technology is one of the key building blocks of the digitalisation of the society. And therefore, we have a great mission. We need to turn this data revolution into a success for all, whatever the data challenges are. And our ambition is to make sure that this data revolution is not done with a sort of hegemonic approach. And we want to guarantee our customers and the total market that we can always have alternative solutions, freedom of choice. And we do that through a cloud which is open, reversible, transparent, and which protects customer data and preserve data privacy.
Well, freedom and transparency are words often used, but with differing levels of success in business generally. How do you do it? What will a company find in those terms when they come to OVH Cloud?
Oh, of course, you will find cloud solutions, but I think OVH Cloud gives 5 key distinctive differentiators. First, we do believe that hybrid cloud will prevail. And the move to the cloud is something very complex for customers. And to be able to fit to each customer case, we have developed a full portfolio of public and private cloud solutions under a unique umbrella, a control panel, which allow to have an easy use. We are very proud because IDC and Forrester have ranked us among the top worldwide player in the private and public cloud. The second differentiator is the fact that we proposed sovereign cloud solutions. The data has created a huge immense value, but it raised also major concerns, ethical concerns and strategic concerns. As a European player, we are not affected by the extraterritorial laws or jurisdiction, such as the Cloud Act. So we can propose to the public sector, to the corporate, trusted sovereign solutions. And for example, Gaia-X is really a platform that Europe is pushing to propose sovereign solutions. The third differentiator is our competitive and predictable pricing. And this price-performance ratio, unique on the market, is a consequence of a fourth differentiator, which is a very different, vertically integrated model. We design and assemble our data centers. We design and build our servers in our two plants in France and in Canada. And we fully control the value chain of our construction of servers. And it gives us a very strong cost advantage, very strong cost advantage. Moreover, thanks to some innovation that Octave has introduced 15 years ago, such as water cooling, we have a sustainable model. And François, in a few minutes, will explain in details what does it mean. The fifth differentiator is the ecosystem we celebrate today. We have a very rich and dynamic ecosystem, and OVH Cloud is a collective adventure with our partners, with our employees, with all the ecosystems of customers, software editors. Really, we try to propose an alternative, solutions to the market. And the capacity with this ecosystem to have a third path and to give the freedom of choice.
Thank you. We're actually changing the set for the OVH Cloud Summit into this sort of fully digital ecosystem experience for obvious reasons. 2020 has changed the game in some very unexpected ways. How would you sum up this year for OVH Cloud?
Wow. 2020 is really a very strange year. This dramatic COVID crisis strikes families, it hurts the economy. On the other hand, it creates the acceleration of the digitalisation of the society, and it creates a lot of new opportunities, but also responsibilities and constraints. Fortunately, OVH Cloud is not affected so far. So 2020 is a sort of good year for OVH Cloud. And despite the fact that we don't know what will be the future, OVH decided to continue to invest. And with Octave, we have decided to move forward, to really continue to bring innovations and to invest. For example, we have made two major acquisitions in storage recently. We are investing in our data center extension. We are continuing to recruit in many locations. We are investing in revamping our partnership program. Just an example, the OVH Cloud Marketplace will go internationally. And we are investing in R&D to propose new solutions with our partners and by ourselves. And tomorrow, Alain and Ludivine will describe all the exciting projects we have in front of us, and we are investing a lot.
It's interesting you mentioned investment, actually. It's a big theme for technology companies to invest heavily during periods of trouble or downturns or uncertainty for long-term gains. You agree with this? Is this why you've continued to invest? Many companies right now have stopped investing.
We must not. We must not. On the contrary, we should accelerate. This crisis demonstrates that it is imperative to introduce new innovative technologies to improve our lives, but with an ethical and sustainable approach.
So that's your ambition for 2021 then, to grow a movement towards a trusted alternative to the existing digital ecosystem.
Exactly. 2021 will be a very exciting year. It will be the year to scale our ecosystem all across the world. And in order to change the rules of the games and to propose a trusted alternative in the data world against some hegemonic giants, as frontier between our real life and our virtual life fades, data is not anymore only a matter of innovation or an economical matter, but now it concerns ethics and even politics. And Europe has understood this very well and initiated Gaia-X, a project to define the rules of the game of a transparent data world which respects and protects citizens. And this is our ambition to be part of it.
Speaking about trust, this is a challenge that goes far beyond the pure business of the cloud industry. It's also linked to a geopolitical strategic vision. The European Commissioner stated that he is involved to, as he says, build the continent's economic and geopolitical sovereignty. But here today, we have a message from another notable advocate of this endeavour. Hello, Monsieur le Ministre.
Ladies and gentlemen, digital technology plays a strategic role in our economies and our daily life. Digital sovereignty has become a necessary condition of sovereignty. Europe's ability to be sovereign is nowadays endangered. It is endangered by digital giants' monopoly or by extraterritorial legislation such as the Cloud Act. To be sovereign, we must freely define the rules governing digital uses, and we must develop the main technologies underlying these uses. One of these main technologies is data storage and processing. It is therefore of key importance to bear in mind that the production, storage, and processing of data involves security constraints which must be taken into account if European data platforms are to emerge on a global scale. Mastering technologies host and process massive amounts of data is critical. Ensuring that big data benefits European digital players is critical. Protecting sensitive corporate data is critical. It is a question of finding a fine balance between, on the one hand, promoting the opening up of data, which is likely to give rise to strategic and technological opportunities, and on the other hand, protecting sensitive data. As part of the recovery plan, an industrial strategy for cloud technologies will be developed. This strategy will aim at first investing in technological building blocks to develop interoperability and European capacities to host and process data. One example, we will invest to create a European marketplace for cloud services and a cloud governance. The second goal of this strategy is developing common data spaces at the national level in strategic industrial sectors. But the national strategy will never be sufficient. We need a European strategy. And this is the objective of the Gaia-X project in the cloud technology. And I would like to take this opportunity to warmly thank OVH for its unfailing investment in this project. Indeed, one of the main projects we want to develop at European level is the implementation of an efficient and competitive, secure and reliable European data infrastructure so that data can be made available, collected and shared in complete security between users. This infrastructure must be open and designed in accordance with European values. Data security and self-determination are key factors contributing to a favorable business and innovation environment. As you all know, the Gaia-X project is intended as a marketplace bringing together, on the one hand, cloud providers, and on the other hand, users wishing to share their data in a secure, transparent, and open framework. After several rounds of negotiations with our German partners, French manufacturers are now convinced by the project and its commercial potential. 22 French and German companies are involved in the Gaia-X project as founding members. They agree to carry the initiative forward for years to come. In this respect, the rapid creation of a strategic partnership between T-Systems and OVH clearly demonstrates the importance of the challenge of developing a sovereign European cloud. I therefore welcome this Franco-German partnership and urge you to intensify your efforts in the coming months to achieve our common goals. I wish you a great conference.
Thank you, Minister. Michelle, it looks like expectations are high to bring this European ecosystem to life. If you don't mind, I'll switch the screens as, speaking of Gaia-X, you were the first to put a concrete partnership on the table.
Floors and screens are all yours.
Guten Tag, Max. Hello, Falk.
Hello, how are you?
I'm very well, thanks, Falk. Gentlemen, a few weeks ago, you surprised the cloud world with a partnership to develop a cloud platform addressing all sectors sensitive to data sovereignty. Max, as CTO of T-Systems, tell us more on where this project actually came from.
Yeah, it's indeed a remarkable project, and I think the whole thing started with us, both of us, driving the Gaia-X initiative forward, which in itself is also kind of a special animal because it started in the political area, but very quickly evolved over to the industry, where we see a lot of demand and kind of positive reaction on this idea of building a sovereign stack, and with that also a sovereign infrastructure for the digitalization in Europe. And I think when we both got involved in the whole discussion, we realized that in order to make it truly tangible, we need to go the next step. We need to make sure we build actual platforms that follow these principles and make them available to clients, that they can actually buy these services. And we figured out pretty quickly that the two companies are really complementary in that sense, right? With the strong edge that OVH has on the whole infrastructure space, and us coming more from the operational side of the house. So together we can probably we are probably best positioned to very quickly build these platforms, and that's how we kind of drove forward. And I think these are always the best projects, where you see from the very beginning that you really solve a very tangible, a very important problem of our client base, and that's why it's so much fun, and that's why it also advanced so quickly.
Falk, you're the general manager of OVH Cloud in Germany. How do you go about actually building, physically and technically, such a project as this?
Yeah, thanks for that question, Jeremy. Obviously, it's a huge request to come up with something which delivers to a demanding customer base, like the government, which is probably the most demanding one when it comes to data sovereignty and security, as well as the high demand and the high standards of T-Systems. Because obviously T-Systems is known as the number one in the IT service market. So we needed to come up with a very robust and very solid solution that holds the promise. So it's about transparency. It's about reversibility. It's about being, we call it as a smart cloud, a smart foundation on the infrastructure plate, where then T-Systems comes on top with the service elements. So it's the best of both worlds, which addresses the high demand of that customer base.
As you're both members of Gaia-X, you wanted the principles of this European initiative to be directly implemented in your solution. What are these drivers exactly, Max?
Yeah, so from our side, from our viewpoint, the principles have two angles to it. One is having data sovereignty, which is very much around having control about the infrastructure, knowing where the data actually sits and who has access to it. And the other side is what I'd call technology sovereignty, meaning that the software stack, the software ecosystem that is being used on top of that infrastructure is truly open. It's based on open source, but it's also under an open governance. And these two elements together give you control on the one hand side, but also on the other hand side, certainty that you won't get locked in, that you have the ability to kind of resume control, which is important not only for the public sector, and I fully agree with Falk that these guys are the ones that have probably the highest immediate demand, but also for the industry, where we see, especially around their digitalization projects, which is going to be the core of the next generation of value creation, where this is important to be in control about the technologies that you are using. And these two elements are the ones that we drive within Gaia, and these are also the elements that we drive into our platform. And you may think, okay, Gaia is not yet defined, so how can you build a Gaia compliant platform? But I think we follow these lines, and we are committed to develop our platform further with the evolvement of Gaia. And I think that is really key, because I hope that Gaia is gonna be continuously developing and not stand still. And that's why we are just marching ahead. We are driving these ideas forward into tangible products, and we hope others do the same thing in order to get this off the ground quickly.
But Max, the route to market will be down to you at T Systems. Are you confident this offer will find a market?
Absolutely. I think when we talk to the clients in the public and the private sector, that there's a real demand. And I also think that it's important that we take this from a European angle. I mean, we are very strong as Deutsche Telekom in Germany, but together with OVH, which is very strong in France, but also in the rest of Europe, we want to build this to be a truly European solution, because I think that is the way how we can generate the necessary scale to make it an ecosystem that evolves quickly. And so we will drive it in Germany. I truly see the demand, but I'm certain that the teams also have a lot of good traction in other countries of Europe.
Falk, when will this all come to life, though?
Yeah, that's a good question. Obviously, and luckily, we started the discussion much earlier than the announcement recently. So the teams have been working in several work streams to work out a plan, to work out the technology, the offering. It's not that everything has been sorted yet, but a vast majority of elements have been analyzed and pre-designed. So I'm fair to say that in a couple of months, early next year, we should be in a very good position to launch it.
Thanks very much, Falk and Max. I'll let you get back to the project. It sounds like you've got a lot to do there, trying to define a new segment of the cloud market. So no more infrastructure as a service or platform as a service, but more a whole data center as a service. Thanks very much indeed for your time. Let's now look a little further into the OVH cloud ecosystem from another point of view. I'll stay on screen to go to Denmark and welcome an expert in the cloud market. Welcome Carla Arendt, Senior Program Director and Lead Analyst at IDC. Hi, Carla.
Hi, Jeremy.
Hi, Carla. We've already been talking about the OVH cloud ecosystem, but I'm interested in your view on the challenges ahead. How would you consider the European cloud market today, if you could paint a picture for us?
Yes, sure. We have seen accelerated adoption of cloud services during this year, because European organizations have really found that cloud technologies can help them to adapt to the new circumstances that the pandemic has created for us. And so we are really seeing a huge wave of adoption, also of organizations who haven't really been looking at the cloud before. But if we look at the cloud market more from a helicopter perspective, then what we can see is that the market is very dominated by 4 global cloud providers who have a market share of 73%. So there's a high concentration in the infrastructure as a service market. We see a little bit more fragmentation in platform as a service, and then the software as a service market is there are many different players playing, but we see this concentration of market share in the infrastructure as a service space.
We've seen with Max and Falk that there is a step to be made for the public sector. Do you consider this an opportunity for established players, though?
I think they are great because it is a strategic concern for Europe that we don't really own our cloud infrastructure where we store our data and compute our data. And that's why I think these initiatives are being brought forward, both by the European Commission, but also by, for example, the German and French governments, and now with the support of many other states in Europe where they are working towards common data infrastructure, and the project is called Gaia-X. And I think it's a great initiative that really helps us to, if not control the stack, then at least control the data layer. And then use the data according to European values and principles, and also European regulations like GDPR, for example.
So digging into this ecosystem experience, there are a lot of European initiatives within the digital services policy, as well as more local actions, of course. As an analyst, how do you perceive these sovereign projects?
Yes, definitely, because public sector, of course, they are handling the most sensitive and critical data for our countries. And we have seen that in the public sector, there has been a huge awareness over the years that this data should reside on a local or regional or European infrastructure, so that we really control the whole stack and also can put in place the security measures that are necessary. But in public sector, of course, there's also huge pressure to digitally transform and to use new innovative technologies. And so we have seen that public sector organizations are really embracing the cloud and innovate on the cloud.
We see some in the data industry embracing these issues around strategic independence. Do you think there are societal dimensions in which these companies should strengthen their commitments?
Yes, definitely. Around the topic of sustainability, cloud providers can really help organizations to reach their sustainability goals and to reduce their carbon footprint. And we have seen a massive push this year from cloud providers where they announce very ambitious carbon neutrality goals themselves. And they can really help customers to take down the carbon footprint of their own IT operations, because a cloud provider has the scale to run much more efficiently than individual organizations can do.
So, Carla, do you think there is a real demand for a European cloud provider to set up?
Yes, I think so. And one of the reasons is, for example, the recent Privacy Shield ruling, where Privacy Shield as an agreement for data exchange has been rendered invalid, and actually with immediate effect. And I think this still needs to be absorbed by the market, and European organizations still need to process what that actually means for them. We also see that the European data protection authorities are still working on providing some guidelines of what organizations should do instead. But that also shows that we need European providers that are compliant with the European laws like GDPR, because there's also concern about, for example, the US Cloud Act, which enables US courts to subpoena data from anywhere in the world if it's needed for a court case, for example. So that is another concern, because it could potentially require organizations to violate GDPR, because if they have to hand out European data to the US, but the European citizens haven't given their consent, then that might potentially be a violation. So there are concerns that are more of regulatory nature that definitely also show us the need for a European player. But the second aspect of that is also, if we want to control our destiny in the cloud, then we need to have a European-owned infrastructure that we can use.
Thanks very much for your view on this, Carla. It's much appreciated. Take care. We're back on stage for this OVH Cloud ecosystem experience. Carla just underlined this impetus for all regarding the environmental footprint of our businesses. If innovation is required to investigate new solutions, then sustainability is more than ever a key area to invest. Therefore, I'm glad to welcome with me on stage Francois Cuny, Deputy CEO of INRA, a leading tech research ecosystem, and Francois Starin, Chief Industrial Officer at OVH Cloud. Thanks for joining me, gentlemen. Francois Cuny, I'd like to start with you if you don't mind. How would you describe the relationship of the research community to this environmental imperative?
Yeah, well, at a period where natural resources are becoming scarce, innovating is just a necessity to help sustainable world, and especially in digital world. At INRIA, the research community has decided some years ago to put the environmental topics at the center of their research. Of course, because when you think of digital tools, one common thinking is that it is a part of the problem of environmental disease, because it uses a lot of energy to compute. But it is also a tremendous opportunity because it's a part of the solution. Everywhere in human life, in human action, the optimization, the computation, and the solution given by the algorithms makes it possible to improve the footprint, environmental footprint. So that's why they are so implicated.
When going to the business side of innovation, research is often associated with a D for the development. How important is it for a research institute like yourselves to collaborate with companies like OVH Cloud? Is it a testing field?
Yeah, well, in fact, as a research institute, INRIA, has got a stakeholder, which is the French government. Inside the French government, we have two stakeholders, in fact. The first one, of course, is the Ministry of Research. And for this ministry, our objective is to have excellence in scientific actions. That's normal. But the second one, which is quite specific at INRIA, is the Ministry of Industry. And for that reason, we need to put the objective of impact, and the impact for us is economical impact. That's why it's so important for us to have partnership with industry, and especially French and European industry. But as you mentioned it in your question, the real point for the researchers is that working with industry is of major interest. Why? When you are working as a researcher in the numerical world, what you need is challenges. What you need is data sets. And the real data sets, the real challenges come from the real world, where you're running the real conditions. And that's why we have so interesting partnership with the industry, and especially OVH.
Thanks, Francois. Climate change is one of the top considerations of any customer today, and IT is considered a polluting business, really. What are your thoughts, Francois Starin?
Yeah, actually, it's not that bad. Thanks to the move to cloud, the data center electricity consumption has stayed surprisingly flat over the last 10 years, around 1% of the electricity worldwide, while in the meantime, internet traffic was growing 12-fold. Still, if we want to reach the Paris Climate Agreement target, we need to act. As a citizen, as company, and within OVH Cloud, we didn't wait. We have this obsession for efficiency and frugality. And what's actually good for business and for the bottom line, it's also good for our environmental impact in that case. For instance, we use water cooling for our servers.
Water cooling? Okay.
So we actually put water on the processor to cool it down better. So it was a brave and smart move, actually, in 2003, because as a result, we need minimal extra overhead electricity to cool it down. And therefore, our power usage effectiveness is between 1.1 and 1.2.25, which is really good. The industry is almost at 2. And we don't use a lot of water. We use 21 centiliters of water for each kilowatt hour. Just to give you an image, it's like using a tiny glass of water to cool down our server for 10 hours, while the industry average is more like a full bottle like this. And we also operate in pretty low carbon grid in Quebec and France. We're keeping our emission of electricity quite low. So that's our magic trio, we call. which is energy, water, and carbon, and we're leading on this. And I have more, which is we reuse a lot of our servers, we recycle them, we reuse industrial building as well. 25 of our 31 data centers are made of former industrial building. So that's circular economy. So we basically industrialized circular economy 10 years ago, way before it became a standard. So again, making economic and ecological sense.
Well, that's all very impressive, but always more can be done, can't there? Always more can be done. What's your plan to lower the environmental footprint in the coming years?
Yeah, we should always do more, you're right. We'll keep this obsession for efficiency and frugality. We have R&D capacity to do that, but we want to go even further. And so today, we commit to be carbon neutral on our operation by 2025 and use 100% renewable energy by then. And because OVH Cloud is always about going the extra mile, when you think about cloud and servers, very few players actually include the manufacturing phase of the server in their carbon calculation, even less reporting and even less compensation. And so we are already reporting it, and we want to fully reduce it and compensate it by 2030, becoming a net zero business. But I'd be glad to come back earlier than that, obviously, right?
But you can't do this alone, though, can you? I mean, this is where INRIA comes in, right?
Correct. We believe that, data revolution can't be a progress if it's not done in a sustainable way. And the tech sector, which is a young, innovative one, can't do it alone, as you said. So we need to engage partners and customers. We want to know, we want to help the end users to know exactly their footprint. You would tell me, well, it's 2020, easy, right? Well, actually, when you reach a certain area like software efficiency, like virtual machine, measuring it is actually not that simple. So we actually asked for help, and we're happy to join forces today with INRIA. It's almost a dream partner for a multi-year collaboration that Francois called a challenge.
Francois Cuny, what are the research areas then INRIA has invested in for tracking sustainability?
Well, yeah. In fact, as I mentioned before, having a partnership with OVH Cloud is a way to have access to very good and interesting subjects. And just like mentioned Francois in the beginning sentence, the access and giving access to the customers, to the measuring, to the monitoring of the power consumption, depending on the hardware they are using, is a very good subject for researchers. That's the first example. The second one is the algorithms themselves, running the servers, running the datasets, or running on the servers on the datasets, needs to be optimized to lower the consumption of energy. And the last example I want to give you for the research interest is the fact that OVH is a global company, which is very interesting for us because they have facilities everywhere in the world, which means that they have facilities everywhere all the time of the day, running daylight or at night, running with under windy condition or not. And since they want to use renewable energy, this can be inserted in the algorithms that manage the scheduling of the computation to benefit from the energy, which is low power. I don't know how to say it.
Well, I wish you the very best indeed, gentlemen. Thank you so much for coming today. Thank you again.
Thank you, Jeremy.
Now, your attention, if you please, because we're returning to a serious topic. How could anyone build a trusted cloud without the highest security standards? To answer that question, I'm honored to welcome Mr. Guillaume Poupard, Director General of the French National Cybersecurity Agency. Welcome, Guillaume. We see every day the growing threat of security in a hyper-connected world. And you're on the front line in this ongoing battle, really. What are the roles and the mission of the National Cybersecurity Agency?
Well, there are basically two principles in France. The first one is that cybersecurity can be only in one administration or one ministry. So that's the reason why our agency, with 600 experts, already are related to the Prime Minister directly. But the goal is to work with all the ministries, with defense, interior, economy, foreign affairs, justice, education, and well, all of them. The other principle in France is that we want to separate offensive and defensive cybersecurity. So that's the reason why we only focus on defensive side. It means that we do regulation, prevention, protection, threat analysis, detection of the attacks. We do incident response with the victims themselves, but we don't do intelligence, and well, we don't try to do other things. It's already enough, probably.
This certification of yours, the Second Cloud, could you tell us a bit more about the standards it sets in terms of security in the cloud?
Well, a few years ago, we observed that the clients wanted to know with whom they can work to do cloud, to buy cloud. The goal is to know who are good and who can be trusted. Right. So for this, we need certification. So in France, we have this mechanism. We've been working on this for many years now, but it's just the end of the first process. And today, I'm very pleased to say that OVH Cloud will soon be certified in France. It means that the clients can trust them to use their solutions. And the next step we are working on is to make it a European solution. We now have a framework, we have a law called the Cybersecurity Act that enables to do certification for cybersecurity in Europe. And we are working on cloud certification. So the goal will be to have a global European process to certify solution.
This idea of building trust in the data infrastructure must be a key topic for your organization. How does it actually contribute to this move in the ecosystem?
The very important point is the ecosystem. This is the key word. If only the administrations or the victims are trying to deal with cybersecurity, it will not be efficient. We want to work with research, education, startups, small companies, big ones, the one who provide some solutions. So only working, we're a small country, so we can only be efficient if everybody's working together in order to provide some good solutions. So that's the reason why we are going to announce in a few weeks the creation of a cyber campus in Paris, which will be a place where people will be able to work together to do real cyber. It will be very exciting.
Thanks very much, Monsieur Papin. I'm sure we all wish you the very best in your fight towards a more secure digital world. Thank you again.
Thank you.
We're meeting up again with Michel Paulin to close together this first keynote of the OVH Cloud ecosystem experience. Hello. Michel, it's been a fascinating deep dive into these challenges with this ecosystem. But it's all underlined for me how critical the question of trust in the cloud is, wouldn't you say?
First, thank you very much, Jeremy. The credit is all theirs. That's why I'm so excited to share this ecosystem with as many as possible. But let's come back first to the security topic. We are constantly working on security in our infrastructure and our systems. We have already many certifications in many sectors, health, insurance, and also finance. And we are in the process to get the highest security level in France called Secnum Cloud. And we have the same journey with in UK with G Cloud, C5 in Germany, and Agid in Italy. Trust and security are vital, and they are top priorities for us.
Let's go back to the ecosystem as well, though. I mean, this is going to be an ongoing commitment for you, isn't it?
Collective thinking is a never-ending commitment. So yes, I'm very confident about this ecosystem. And we receive so many positive feedback on all our initiatives. Just to illustrate with our last program, Open Trusted Cloud, we launched it during the summer, a few weeks ago. And we have already identified 160 PaaS and IaaS and SaaS solutions which are eligible, and 50 are already on board. So we believe our ecosystem is really dynamic. The ecosystem is passionate. We are passionate, so I am very confident. I am very optimistic. And that's just the beginning. Because with this very dynamic ecosystem, we are creating a third path between the Chinese and European models. An ecosystem based on the same trust of values, transparency and data privacy. And as Octave says very frequently, thanks to this ecosystem, Cela va déchirer.
Thank you, Michelle. And for those of you watching, don't leave us there. Stay tuned all day on the OVH Cloud Ecosystem Experience platform for breakout sessions, workshops, demos, masterclasses, and so much more. I'll leave you there for now, but we'll be here again tomorrow, same place, same time. See you then.